Alright, so in this video, I am going to show you how to set up and balance the Inkee Falcon Plus. If you haven't already checked out my video on the Inkee Falcon, I've linked to it above. In that video, I share my thoughts and some test footage from this great gimbal. So, one of the weaknesses of the Inkee Falcon Plus is the instructions. And specifically, those are the instructions for setting it up and balancing it. The instructions are better than they were for the original Inkee Falcon, but I still think they're lacking. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the Inkee Falcon Plus starting from the beginning, and I'm going to show you how to also pair it with your action camera. For this video, I am going to be using the GoPro Hero 10, but these instructions that I provide to you can pretty much be used for any action camera on this gimbal. It is important to note that the GoPro cameras are the only cameras that are officially fully supported with this. And what I mean by that is you can pair your GoPro with the Inkee Falcon Plus, and you can use the buttons on the Inkee Falcon Plus to control your GoPro, which is awesome. On the Osmo Action and the DJI action cameras, you don't have full control. You do still have to power on your camera and hit some of the buttons on your camera to get it to record, but the gimbal does still provide the stability features to your action camera. Let's get started. All right, so first thing we're gonna do here is unbox this. Here's our instructions. Like I said, they're not super helpful. They are more helpful than with the original Inkee Falcon, but they still lack. So that's why I'm gonna show you all the steps in today's video. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get out the tripod here, and we're gonna get out the main Inkee Falcon right here. And we're gonna screw this on. This is gonna make it a lot easier to adjust because we can have this standing. We also wanna get out this bag that has a couple of our Allen wrenches in it and a couple of these screws, which will be useful later on. Now, it does also include the thumb screw for the GoPro, but I don't find this super useful. The other screw that's included, this right here, does a lot better job holding the GoPro in place. So this one I'm going to set aside. And of course, there is also the charging cable and the bag for storing it in here. Those will not apply right now. I do recommend charging this up first to make sure it at least has a couple bars of charge. Right now, this has 3 on it, so we are good. We've got plenty of charge to set this up. All right, so the first thing we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna look at this part right here. So there is a screw down here underneath this. We want to loosen this a little bit because we're gonna slide this out. So I'm gonna loosen it a little. And for now, we're just gonna slide this out so there's a pretty good gap there. It doesn't have to be all the way out, but we also don't want it all the way in. We wanna leave plenty of a gap. And then we're just gonna tighten this right here. All right, so after we've tightened that, I do recommend turning this. This is gonna be as if you're mounting the GoPro here, and the GoPro is going to face that way. So the next thing you wanna do is you wanna get your GoPro. So in my case, I have the GoPro in the media mount. If you're gonna be using the media mount, definitely make sure you stick the GoPro in there first. That's gonna be really important. And it's also key that you get the legs down on your GoPro. You need to have those down in order to mount it on here. All right, so what we're gonna do here next is, now that we've got the legs down on the GoPro, we're going to set this on here. And the way we're gonna do that is, like I said, make sure this arm is toward you, this arm up here, and then you're gonna put one of the legs on the outside of this piece right here, and then the other one in between the two. So don't have the leg on the inside part. It does need to be on the outside where you see this texture here. That's gonna be important. All right, so once you get them mounted on there, I recommend turning it so that you can see this right here, as you're gonna need to kind of line this up. Once you have it there, it's key to hold this down as tight to this piece as possible. Right there. It's gonna make it a lot better seating of the camera, and it's gonna be a lot straighter. So once you have it there, just start threading in this bigger screw right here. It's gonna be the biggest one that came with the kit by far. And you may have to wobble this a little bit to get it to go in initially. And once it does go in, you'll kind of hear a sound like that. Then you want to take this Allen wrench right here and you want to tighten this. So I'm going to tighten this in all the way. And once it's snug there, it's going to look like this right here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back this way and we're going to balance this on the first axis. So the first axis we're going to balance here is the left-right adjustment. You're going to see like if your camera's tilting a little bit this way or this way. In my case, it's tilting a little bit left. So what I want to do is I want to adjust this right here. And since it's tilting a little bit left, we want to slide it back in a little bit. You can see when I slid it that way, it starts tilting right. So you want to juggle this back and forth a little bit until you get it where it doesn't really move either way. It should move very easily and it should want to sit there level. So if you do a little bit of this to it, you want to see the camera that doesn't try to do this or this. You want it to kind of sit there in the middle on its own. That's when you'll know you have this axis balanced. So you can see right there when I slide it too far left, it tilts too far there, too far right, it tilts way far that way. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer you get it to perfect, the smoother it's going to be when you're using the GoPro. So I like that right there, and I'm going to tighten this now. All right, now the next axis we're going to do is we're going to do the front and rear balance. So to do the front and rear balance, you want to flip it so that the lens is facing up. And as you can see there, it does not want to stay in place. It definitely wants to move. We're going to adjust this screw right here. So in this case, the camera wants to flip forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this and bring it up a little. But see, if I bring it up all the way to the top, the camera definitely wants to flip on its head. So with this one, you want to keep it in the general pointing upward direction, and you want to slide it until it stays approximately there. So we're going to go back a little bit, and that's too far. We're going to slide it down a little more. All right, we're getting really close there. We just need to do a little bit more up. So right about there is going to be pretty good for this. As you can see, the camera likes to stay in place. It doesn't really move a lot if we tilt it either way. So we're going to take this and we're going to tighten it right there. All right. So we're going to then turn the camera so it's pointing outward. And as you can see, it should kind of move and stay where you move it when it's balanced. So you can see there, it doesn't really want to move on its own. It kind of goes where you tell it to. That's going to be one of the keys for knowing that you have it well balanced. The camera's not really going to flop anywhere on its own. It's going to move and stay where you move it. All right, so that is the balancing process. Like I said, it's easier than the original Inkee Falcon. If you owned the original, I think you will find this much easier. The next step that I want to show you how to pair the GoPro to this. So there's a couple keys here. The first thing we need to do is we need to turn on the gimbal before we turn on the GoPro. So you're going to push the red button down here and you're going to let it turn on. And you should see this green light right here, which indicates the Bluetooth is on. If you do see that this green light here is not on for you, you need to power it off. I'll hold this down. And you're gonna know it's powered off when it does that. Then you need to power it on again. And what you'll need to do is you'll need to tap the power button here 8 times rapidly and continuously, and then that light should come on at that point. All right. Once you see the green light there, you then want to power on the GoPro. And once the GoPro is powered on, what you're going to do is you're going to swipe down and you're going to swipe left and you're going to click on connections. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure The wireless connection is on. Tilt the screen here so you can see that better. You want to make sure wireless connection is turned on. You're going to click connect there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to click on the GoPro Quick app. Boom, connection successful. That was very fast. The way you'll know it's successful after that is you can hold the power button to turn it off, and it's going to turn off the GoPro and the gimbal at the same time. Hold the power on button again, and it's going to power both on. And sometimes there'll be a little bit of a delay before the GoPro powers on, but generally it's pretty quick. And then of course, another way to test to make sure the connection is good is you can hit the record button right here. GoPro starts recording. Hit the record button again. GoPro stops recording. There's also, of course, the photo and time-lapse mode on the side here. So we hit photo mode, it goes right to photo on the camera. Hit time-lapse mode, it goes right to time-lapse. And then if you want to go back to video mode, just hit the record button right here. That takes you back to video mode. You, of course, can change the modes that it's in by hitting this M button right here. And the instructions are pretty clear about what these different modes do. But the way you toggle between them is by hitting that. And then if you want the gimbal to face the camera forward and return to the default settings, you want to double tap this trigger button right here on the front. It's going to set it to the default. And if you want the camera to turn and face you, you're going to tap this trigger button 3 times. The camera's going to turn. And that's how you talk to the camera, and then when you want to return it to the front again, do 2 taps. And I recommend with these modes to explore them, test them, figure out what you like best. I'm not going to go through all of the details of those today, because the point of this video is to set up and connect your GoPro to the gimbal. But that is how you balance it, and that is how you connect your GoPro. All right, so there you have it. There are all the steps that you need to follow to set up the Inkee Falcon Plus gimbal for first-time use. Hope you found this tutorial to be helpful, and until we talk again, happy GoProing.